Using FLUDD to spray enemies and clean stuff up is one of the deepest, most important, and coolest parts of Super Mario Sunshine, so let's try to beat the game without it. There's a lot of times where you're intended to use the default Spray Nozzle since it's literally the only one that you have 100% of the time, but we're gonna have to accomplish all of the aiming, splashing, and spraying with the Hover Nozzle, the Turbo Nozzle, and the Rocket Nozzle. Spoiler alert, since the Hover Nozzle is your second default nozzle, we're mostly using that one. And right away, this changes how we have to approach things. The airstrip level that you have to complete before you get access to the rest of the game has this polluted piranha plant that you're supposed to kill by spraying. Fortunately, the Hover Nozzle's flight time is just barely enough to activate it, and then we're able to fly over as it opens its mouth 3 times in order to kill it. And it really is a good thing that this isn't too hard because there are a lot of these stinky plants in this game. You literally have to fight another one to unlock the first level, and in that first level, you have to fight another one. However, between those two, you still have to do the first Shadow Mario chase in the game. This is going to be one of the worst parts of this challenge. Normally, partially holding down the analog R trigger lets you spray and run after him at the same time, making it relatively easy to kill him. With the Hover Nozzle though, this becomes a bit more clunky. You can totally damage him with water from the Hover Nozzle, but spraying him for more than a few frames at a time is pretty challenging. I managed to hit this sick streak of hovers and killed this first iteration pretty quickly, but the thing about Super Mario Sunshine is that the 7th level of all 7 stages is a Shadow Mario chase like this one. And the requirement for unlocking the final level? Beat episode 7 in all 7 stages. We have to chase this guy 7 more times with the Hover Nozzle on top of whatever other gimmicks or terrain weirdness is going on. Oh boy, heading into Bianco Hills, remember how I just mentioned you have to fight another goopy stinky piranha plant? You actually don't have to. Kind of. For some reason, PD Piranha is present on top of the windmill in both episodes 1 and 2, even though episode 2 is the one where you're actually supposed to fight him. Skipping the polluted piranha and climbing up to PD in episode 1 will let you fight him and reward you with the second shine, allowing you to go into episode 3 and skip completing episode 1 entirely. It seems like this is intended, but I've never been 100% convinced, honestly. Either way, I don't think anybody is going to complain about not having to fight a third one of these fucking guys, but I will complain about PD Piranha. At least when it comes to fighting him with the Hover Nozzle, because holy, this is obnoxious. Since Mario can't hover for as long as he can spray, it makes filling Petey's tum-tum with water way slower than normal. And while we leave this idiot to struggle with Peter Piranha for nearly 10 minutes, I want to give you a little more background on this challenge. No Hover Nozzle challenges are one of the most commonly done Sunshine challenge runs, to the point where it's even a fairly optimized speed run, but no Spray Nozzle or Sprayless has barely ever actually been done before. YouTuber Snowman13 made a video on this challenge about 5 months ago, so shoutouts to him. But fun fact, I actually made a video on this challenge nearly 5 years ago on an old YouTube channel. That channel and video kinda sucked, so I decided to do it again, but good this time. This little clip is literally all I have left of that video to this day, so you're just gonna have to take my word for it. Anyways, back to the challenge that's so cool and interesting and fun that I'm doing it a second time. Wow! Eventually, I was able to lay Peter to rest until like 2 levels from now, but for now, he's asleep. All you have to do in episode 3 is navigate to this cave, which is easy with the Hover Nozzle, and then you get FLUDD taken away from you, so there isn't going to be any spraying happening here. I guess the spraying police can go home now. I guess the squirt squad can pack it up. I'm going to make it a point from here on out to gloss over levels that you generally wouldn't need to spray much of anything in. Like episode 4, for example. All you gotta do is grab 8 red coins in the town, which is movement based, which means Hover Nozzle is already the weapon of choice. And with that, it's time for episode 5, Peter Strikes Back, which is a disgustingly terrible level to play without the Spray Nozzle. Peter flies around in the sky, and once he goes stationary and starts laughing like a moron, you're able to spray him with water to knock him back down. Hover Nozzle is a little finicky for this, but it's more than doable. Once he's on the ground, you can fight him exactly like you did in the windmill, except in between each hit, he flies up into the sky and you have to knock him down again. So overall, this just sounds like a slightly more tedious version of a tedious fight, and it is. But there's an important aspect of this level that I conveniently forgot to mention: waking Peter up. He starts the level just totally napping it up, and you have to shoot him with one of these little guys in order to wake him. The little guys can only be shot with the spray nozzle. No exceptions. No spray nozzle, no little guy. Beating episode 5 of Bianco Hills is 100% required to get to episode 7, which is one of the 7 Shadow Mario levels that unlocks Corona Mountain. So in order to continue through the game, we're gonna have to make an exception. If you have good aim, you can do it in a single use of the spray nozzle, although in my defense, we're not actually spraying anything. There are a lot of really cool workarounds and strategies that we're gonna do in future levels, so trust me when I say it is worth making this exception to see the rest of this run. So, like I already established, beating Peter a second time is tedious but not really challenging, so let's move on to episode 6. It's another level where you just enter a hole in the side of a mountain and get FLUDD taken away, so let's jump to episode 7 and kill another Shadow Mario. This one doesn't really have a new mechanic compared to the first one from Delfino Plaza, and there's still a lot of flat areas where he isn't jumping around a bunch, so it's really not too bad. With all the required shines done in Bianco Hills, let's go to Ricco Harbor. We gotta kill another stinky poopy plant to unlock the entrance to Ricco, so let's do that. And then we'll jump into episode 1, Gooper Blooper breaks out. Breaks out what, huh? Into hives? Acne? Out of the lower class? No. Cubes. He breaks out of cubes. And getting to these cubes with the hover nozzle is pretty easy, and the boss itself isn't too bad. Normally there's a really easy speedrun strat where you can spray Blooper's face, trigger him to slap you, and then while his tentacles are occupied, you can go straight for the nose. Is that thing a nose? It's between his legs. If you do this all quick enough, he'll miss his slap and then just sit there and take it. This works on both phases, and cleaning his face off to be able to grab the nose isn't particularly hard with hover nozzle, so GG. Episode 2 is called Blooper Surfing Safari, and would you believe me if I told you that you spend most of this level surfing on a blooper? While you're on the blooper, you can't even use FLUDD, so no spray nozzle doesn't affect this one at all. Episode 3, the Caged Shine Sprite, is one of the harder levels in the first half of the game in a hoverless challenge due to all the verticality and tight platforming. In this challenge though, we can just jump off this ledge, time a hover right below the cage, and then grab the bottom and flip inside to get the shine. Once again, pretty much unaffected by sprayless. Episode 4, like 3 and 6 in Bianco Hills, is just navigating to a loading zone and entering a secret stage where you get FLUDD taken away. Episode 5 is called Gooper Blooper Returns, and I think I described it very well while live streaming this. Alright, now Gooper Blooper returns, and don't worry, this is a huge iteration. He's way better now. He went back to the drawing board, he changed a lot of things about his combat approach, and now he's ready to rumble again. They forgot to change the fight. They just forgot to change it. It is the same fight as the first one. He might have a new move or something, and you do fight him on the helipad this time, but it is functionally the same boss fight and is just as easy as the first time. Episode 6 is another blooper surfing level that you don't need FLUDD for at all, and then we get to what is a strong contender for worst Shadow Mario in this entire run. In Ricco Harbor, he immediately beelines the upper girder section and hops around fucking everywhere. It's really hard to get any damage on him while he does this, and he has this habit of intentionally bumping into you, which deals damage to you, and even worse, deals knockback. He can and will knock you all the way down, which forces you to climb all the way back up. Fortunately, he doesn't have health regen or anything, so chipping away at him with the hover nozzle will eventually get the job done. On to Gelato Beach. Okay, well, first we have another stinky goopy piranha, but this is the last one, so it's okay. You might remember a certain little trick from seeing glitch videos or speedruns of Super Mario Sunshine. Gelato Beach skip. It does exactly as described on the box. You clip into this glass container where the 8th shine sprite is to collect it early, and then you can just scroll back and select episode 7, which is, once again, the only one that is counted for unlocking Corona Mountain. With this trick, you can completely avoid doing episodes 1 through 6, which is fantastic because these are some of the most tedious levels on a replay. The way I'm saying all of this might make you think that I'm about to reveal that it's impossible to do Gelato Beach skip without the spray nozzle, but in fact, you are totally able to do it under the conditions of this challenge. Grabbing the coconut, lining up the camera, jumping onto the roof, hovering into the coconut to clip into the roof, and then finally navigating to the shine all work exactly like they would in any speedrun. But my chat and I decided to go back and play all the episodes of Gelato Beach anyway, just in case there were any cool workarounds or other interesting things that we could find in a no spray nozzle challenge. So, episode 1 is a secret stage, and getting to it by watering the plant while hovering is easy, so obviously we have to do the rest of the level without FLUDD anyways. Episode 2 though is fucking awful. This is the one where there's 3 tilting mirror platforms with increasing amounts of big guys, and you have to spray them to the edge and ground pound in order to kill them. Stuck with only the hover nozzle, we have to jump above them, hover, and hope they go in the direction we want, and then eventually we can work them to the edge one at a time and kill all of them. It's not particularly difficult, but it is genuinely some of the least fun that you can have in this game. Episode 3 is the big wiggler boss, and just like in episode 1, we can hover on these bud things to water them just fine. Episode 4 is Sandbird, and it's completely unaffected by not having spray nozzle. Having hover nozzle is nice for the part where the Sandbird flips, but you can technically complete this level without FLUDD at all. Episode 5 is the first race against Piantissimo, and this is another level that can be completed FLUDDless. Episode 6 is this terrible level where you have to collect 8 red coins underwater, except a couple of them can just go out of bounds to avoid you, and the swimming mechanics are somehow worse than Mario 64, blah blah blah.
You know what? We should skip episode 6 because it sucks anyway. Just out of like protest. I'll do everything else though.
And finally, episode 7 is another Shadow Mario. This one has a unique gimmick where he will keep running around the stage if you lose him, while every other iteration will stop and wait for you if you get too far. Even if you do lose him, it's easy enough to find him again, but I kept track of him and killed him in about 2 minutes since there's a lot of open areas to try and hover above him. Pinna Park is the next stage the game guides us towards, and right off the bat, I have some bad news about episode 1. True Sunshiners remember that this is the Mecha Bowser boss level, and they will also remember how you have to fight this guy. You get placed in a hero's vehicle, and you're given a bunch of water rockets to shoot at Mecha Bowser. These water rockets have a key similarity to the little guy that we had to shoot at Peter earlier. You have to fire them using the spray nozzle. Fortunately, since this is a Mario game, we only need to hit him 3 times in order to beat him. Okay, actually no. This guy has 4 health for some reason. Every other boss up to this point has had 3, but this guy just has 4. Why? Because he does. So yeah, this is gonna bring our total spray nozzle uses up to 5, but at least none of them were for the actual purpose of spraying water, I guess. It makes total sense for the game to use the spray nozzle for shooting projectiles, but man, this one game design choice is the difference between 0 spray uses and 5 spray uses up to this point. But you know what? Fuck it. I'm not gonna use spray nozzle ever again in this video. 5 is gonna be the final count. You can trust me, you can lock it in. You are never gonna see me use spray nozzle again, so let's keep going. Episode 2 is the Beach Cannon Secret, and fortunately, you don't need FLUDD at all to do this sick mole skip. After that, we lose FLUDD, so the rest of the level is free. The red coins of the pirate ships in Episode 3 are entirely movement-based with nothing specific to spray at, so hovering around is more than enough to collect all 8 reds. Episode 4 requires you to spray these egg turtle things that are apparently preventing the sunflowers from living, but hovering above them is able to wake them, allowing you to kill them with a ground pound. Completing this level unlocks Yoshi and Delfino Plaza and the rest of the stages, and I guess this is as good a time as any to clarify how Yoshi is factored into the rest of this challenge. While riding Yoshi, you can't use FLUDD at all, and instead pressing R will make Yoshi spray juice. This juice does have some unique properties that set it apart from water a little bit, but it also shares a lot of functions with spraying, so for the purposes of this challenge, we're going to say that it is not allowed. We'll revisit Yoshi in a second though, since episode 5 has nothing to do with him. The runaway Ferris wheel has you climb through this section on the back of the park that is another strong contender for the least fun you can have in this game. Fortunately, with the hover nozzle, you can literally just fly through the Ferris wheel because this game is held together by hopes and dreams. Episode 6 does have us use Yoshi again, but it's just to unlock the merry-go-round secret, which doesn't require any juicing. And finally, episode 7 is once again a Shadow Mario chase. With how many weird little areas of the park there are for Shadow Mario to run through, this iteration is definitely one of the harder ones. I'd already gotten a lot of practice with hovering this guy up to this point though, so I was able to clear it in about 4 minutes. And so with Yoshi unlocked, we're able to open up the next stage, Sirena Beach. This level has always been my favorite, and despite the first episode being a kinda janky boss fight, I also really enjoy it. This manta guy is absolutely intended to be sprayed with the spray nozzle, and doing spam sprays is generally the best way to kill it quickly. However, we are of course going to be relegated to the hover nozzle, which is way less than ideal. You have to spray him for quite a while to divide him when he's full size, but fortunately for us, the hover nozzle is just barely able to get it done. From there, spending as much time hovering in the air as possible is the best way to avoid taking a ton of damage. You burn through water pretty quickly this way, but there's a lot of spots to refill it around the map. Episode 2 is another secret stage level, but first we have to get to it. Intended strats involve spraying these pink boos to turn them into platforms, but with some well-spaced wall kicks you can get to the top completely floodless, and we still have the hover nozzle to get in the boo's mouth. FLUDD gets taken away from us, I play the game very well, and then we get the shine. Episode 3 is a fairly infamous one for being this crazy, janky adventure through the hotel, and there's lots of moments that you need to spray things to solve puzzles. Fortunately for us though, we have banana. Backflipping and throwing a banana at the right time lets you clip right into the pool where the shine sprite is normally blocked off. It might work with other fruits, but I have literally only ever done this trick with the banana, so this is the only canon way to do it. Episode 4 takes us to Casino Delfino. Shoutouts to Super Mario Sunshine for taking an anti-gambling stance by making this level stupid as fuck. You're supposed to spray each of these slot machines until you roll triple sevens, and after that there's an even worse janky flippy puzzle that you have to flip every tile on to reveal a pipe. Hovering to roll the slot machines is no problem, but spraying the flippy puzzle with hover nozzle water is less than ideal. Fortunately, we don't have to ponder whether or not this is possible or mess around with it at all because you can just do this.
We're just gonna do the skip. Okay, and now I'm not gonna spray, but you can only sidestep in Spray Nozzle. And then you make sure you go far enough. Otherwise you don't get behind the puzzle, and there we go. Did not have to spray. This skips all of the casino stuff and lets us hop into Sirena Beach's second secret level. Without FLUDD, there's no way for us to spray, etc, etc. Episode 5 takes place in the basement of the casino where we get to fight King Boo. Okay, get to might be strong phrasing, we have to fight him in order to continue. This fight doesn't make heavy use of FLUDD, with the main use of it being to fight enemies that can spawn. A funny mechanic this fight has though is that if you just run underneath King Boo, he will go into hiding for a second and despawn all enemies. I don't know why it does this, but it does, so we're definitely gonna make use of it. King Boo is one of the only bosses in the game where damaging him requires 0 water. All we gotta do is throw it to fruit. Episode 6 is one of the hardest shines in this challenge. Scrubbing Sirena Beach. Yeah. This shine requires you to clean off a huge area covered in electric sludge, and you're given 3 minutes to do so. If you have Spray Nozzle, this time limit is very generous, and with spam sprays you can even do this in under 40 seconds. Hover Nozzle though is absolutely terrible for cleaning large areas of goop fast, so let's grind it out. So I think we just do like, I mean, honestly, even one pass is pretty good here, but I'm probably gonna have to do multiple, so I'm just gonna do it like this. I feel like I'm missing a lot of little spots that are gonna add up a lot here. I don't know, I mean, let's just see how well this first attempt goes. The time limit is generous, but it's just like rounding up those last little bits to get up to 95% that takes forever. There's still a lot on the beach. Okay, I didn't mean to break that like that. I was trying to pick it up, but sometimes they just break. Okay, we already have 50 seconds left. That's not very good. Yeah, I don't know if this first attempt is going to get there. I think I need to be using dive rollout hovers more because you can like... Why did that go that direction? What? Because you can get like more speed from the rollout hovers. Oh. Uh-oh. No, that was such a big chunk of it left. I bet if I cleaned that up, it would have gotten there. I should probably just like very much favor the barrels. Even just breaking them like where they sit is pretty decent. Okay, I think not jumping before I start hovering is also helping a bit. Okay, there's barrels right here. Let's use these. gonna blindly throw that and see what happens. Yeah, that's pretty good. No, the bonk. Okay, that's decent. That's an improvement over what we were doing last time, I feel like. I feel like I'm making a lot more progress. The bonk might legitimately make a difference. Okay, I'm gonna use the rollout movement for this. I revealed a blue coin. That sound just startled me. Okay, I feel like we've made way better progress this time. Come on. Okay, I feel like I'm chilling now, but I probably shouldn't feel that way. Dude, I swear I have so much of it. Oh, there's quite a bit right here still. Dude, please. How much more is there up top? Oh, that's enough. Let's go with 9 seconds left. Okay, second try is not too bad. That level's really fun, honestly. I feel like a good indicator of how like locked in I was to that is that I was barely talking for a lot of that. But that was fun.
And finally, episode 7 is Shadow Mario. This one is in a pretty enclosed space, which makes hovering to damage him fairly annoying, but at least the Shadow Mario clones that spawn during this one are really easy to tell apart from the real one on modern displays. A couple minutes later, I killed him, and so we can move on to Noki Bay. Episode 1 requires us to scale the entire level in order to kill this mole. No Spray Nozzle makes it a little difficult to reveal some of the platforms that are hidden by the goop, but movement with the hover nozzle is simply too powerful, and we can just bypass them anyways. Unlike the previous mole, there's nothing fun inside of this one, so we'll just blow him up and get the shine. The boss of Tricky Ruins in episode 2 sounds like it's going to introduce a really cool new boss, but it's actually just Gooper Blooper again. He still sucks at the game, but we don't even need to fight him because there's another speedrun strat here. Throwing this spring at the corner of the wall with good timing and position will cause it to grow and push Mario out of bounds, letting you land in the room with the shine that you would normally get to after defeating Gooper Blooper. In episode 3, the hover nozzle is a vital part of movement in the giant red coin bottle. That makes a couple of these coins really tricky in a hoverless challenge, but in a sprayless run, we can do this level same as normal. Episode 4, though, is actually another really difficult level to do without the spray nozzle. The Ely Mouth's Dentist Shine is probably the hardest boss in the game, and that's with the ability to spray the gunk off his teeth. Instead, we have to skirt around his mouth and hover above each tooth to clean it off. It's honestly more effective than you might think since the hover nozzle is 2 streams of water, but staying in place with it can be tricky since it makes you swim up pretty fast. It's still not nearly as bad as no hover nozzle though, where you don't have the ability to swim back up and have to carefully spray from weird positions in order to beat the level. Episode 5 is another fucking Piantissimo race for some reason, and did you know about this boxing glove? I swear, nobody knows about the boxing glove, but it does half the level for you in like 3 seconds. It's hilarious. FLUDD is not useful in this level, so yay! Episode 6 is yet another secret floodless stage, so all we gotta do is get there. Once again, movement is all we need, so hover nozzles definitely got this one. Finally, we can finish off the second to last stage with another Shadow Mario chase. This one sucks because he basically just loops you by climbing all the way up the stage and then jumping all the way down, but I'm used to dealing with this stupid asshole at this point, so it's kinda whatever. And now for the last full stage in the game, Pianta Village. Let's lock in, work hard, and grind this out. Episode 1 requires us to clean off these fiery baby chain chomps, and we can do that pretty effectively by hovering over them. After that, we can inflict generational head trauma and slam them into the lake. Episode 2 is another Piantissimo race because, of course, course it is, and you literally don't need FLUDD to beat him. Episode 3 is honestly one of the coolest levels in the game on concept alone, the Goopy Inferno. We start without FLUDD and are obviously supposed to navigate underneath the level to eventually find it, but there's several different methods for skipping this. The speedrun strat involving a damage boost is definitely clean, but personally I'm partial to tree strats because the giant tree is really big. After getting FLUDD, we can hover right up to the mayor and give him a nice little shower. Episode 4 is a second level where you have to bathe a chain chomp for some reason, but this one is way bigger and way more annoying to clean off without the spray nozzle. I tried for a while to hover over him to clean him off while near the bathtub, but I was not having any luck, so I used a really funny strat that I remember seeing in an Average Trey video. Shout out to Average Trey. These barrels will explode with water when broken, so placing it in front of the bath and getting the chain chomp to run into it will explode the barrel and instantly clean him off, allowing you to shove him in the bathtub. Episode 5 of Pianta Village is the level I spent the most time on out of everything during this challenge, but it was for a really stupid reason. This level is the infamous Chuckster secret level, which is the final floodless secret in the game, so you would think that it wouldn't be a problem, but there is a singular obstacle between us and entering the secret stage, the endoplasmic reticulum. This endoplasmic reticulum can only be destroyed by Yoshi's juice, and Yoshi can only spray juice out of his mouth. He doesn't have any sort of hover nozzle because, well, this is a kid's game, so we're gonna need to get past this without using juice at all. Unfortunately, the SMS speedrun is here to save us again with Yoshi Skip. This trick is used to beat this level earlier in a run before Yoshi is even unlocked, and you only need the hover nozzle to do it. The problem with this for me is that, well, it's kinda hard. I watched some tutorials and tried different setups with suggestions from a couple knowledgeable people in chat, but I refused to use save states, so each death meant re-entering the stage to try again. And every time you go for the trick and miss it, you die. It took me like 40 minutes, but once I got it, I was able to blast through the Chuckster stage and beat this level without breaking even the arbitrary Yoshi rule that I set earlier. Episode 6, Pianta's in Need, requires a lot of goop cleaning, but since it's all centered around characters you need to save, there's really small spots to spray, and the hover nozzle is surprisingly adequate for it. On my first attempt, I still had over a minute left on the timer after cleaning off the last guy, and finally, seriously, I've been waiting to say this for the whole video, I can fight the last Shadow Mario in the game. This one's unique gimmick is that he leaves a trail of stinky, fiery poop behind him, and it usually doesn't affect much, but here it was actually kind of a threat. Still though, I was able to beat him first try on Spite alone, which means we can finally enter Corona Mountain. Now, if you remember this game from playing it as a kid, or even playing it recently to be fair, you might have been wondering about this level for the entire video. This level is split into 4 parts: a platforming section with spikes and flames, a shitty boat section with shitty controls that everyone hates, a cloud climb section, and then the actual final boss itself. You can mostly do the platforming as normal with the hover nozzle. Instead of dousing the flames from a distance and pre-planning your route, you kind of just need to go for it, but as long as you can hover above the flames for a split second, you can put them out and then land safely. It's the second segment that poses a lot more of a problem for this challenge: the boat. You're supposed to steer and propel this thing by using the spray nozzle. Is there a way to skip the boat? Well, technically, yes. I'll let past Bringle show you.
So this is a task video of Corona Mountain, but this is how you can do it without using the spray nozzle. So ignore the fact that he's using spray nozzle right there. You can get here without using spray nozzle. It's this part that's crazy. Dude, it's crazy. This is a task. People have done this. Humans have done this before. And then there's a nice little break spot. And then it's not over yet. Somehow you can like wall kick there and do a ledge grab. Now you can use like the slide momentum right here. Slide all the way over here. So that is a way to beat Corona Mountain without using the spray nozzles. That movement right there.
Okay, now, being the inquisitive piece of shit that you might be, I don't know, you're probably wondering, can he do that? No, I definitely can't. That video I just watched was a task, but there are a few recorded instances of people performing this in real time. Most notably, in my opinion, there is a 16-year-old video of this being done that still exists on YouTube to this day. I was 6 years old when this was uploaded. This person could have graduated college, gotten married, had a kid or two, bought a house, and gotten a divorce in the time since this video was posted. And if he was able to do it all that time ago, surely a nerd in 2025 could do it no problem.
I got a better idea. How about doing anything but that?
There's another way. A strat so easy that you, watching at home or on the bus or on the clock, could do it yourself. Fish. This skips most of the platforming and all of the boat section, so that leaves us with the clouds and Bowser. You're supposed to climb the clouds with the rocket nozzle, and last I checked, that isn't the spray nozzle, so we're good to go. And the big final boss of Super Mario Sunshine, Giant Bowser in a bowl of green slime. Given all this game's water-focused mechanics and spraying to defeat enemies, you would think that the spray nozzle is a critical part of this fight. You would think that, but no. All you gotta do is pound 5 spots and Bowser dies. This is not a good boss fight. I love this game, I really do, I just don't know why sometimes. To beat Super Mario Sunshine, the Mario Has a Backpack Pressure Washer video game, you only need to use the default spray nozzle 5 times to beat the game from start to finish. And what's better is that you can even argue we didn't spray at all since all we used it for was shooting a little guy and 4 rockets, but I'm gonna leave that up to you guys to decide. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed seeing some Mario Sunshine on this channel for once, since it's another GameCube game that I definitely know way too much about. This isn't the last you're going to see of Sunshine on this channel because I've been slowly labbing out in the background an even crazier challenge than this one, and you're just going to have to stay tuned for it, so subscribe, etc, etc. Huge shoutouts to every Bringle member for supporting this channel. You guys actually make it possible for me to stream and make videos full time, which is literally a dream. Take care of yourselves, have a good day, and I'll see you guys next time.